I was thinking about my room, my childhood bedroom, and it was very simple. It had a closet. It's a pretty big closet, but it had no doors, never had doors. Very simple room. I can't even remember the paint on the walls. It, I don't think it was ever painted. Could even had paneling. I don't remember. What I do remember is that it had posters of Duran Duran, the rock group, the English rock group Duran Duran. I had quite a few posters of Duran Duran. I was an 80s child, so I grew up with the English invasion, is what they called it. And there were many groups that I liked, but Duran Duran was one of my favorites. And um, it was a simpler time in my life, and but then you move on, and but in that room, I before I moved on, but in that room, I had I didn't have a lot of clothes, but I had clothes. I had clothes to go to school, clothes to play in, shoes. Um, I had 45, my 45 record player, and um, a bed, a dresser, and a wall mirror, a full length mirror. I think I think that was about it. So it was simple. Maybe a few dolls. I had a few dolls on display, but in the 80s, I really wasn't playing with dolls. Um, I was a teenager then, but I didn't really have a whole lot, but I didn't really know that I didn't have a whole lot. So, but what covered my walls was quite a few Duran Duran posters, John Taylor being my favorite of the group. So, um, a lot of several of just him. But I can remember that I went on with life, and in 1991, I joined the army. And I listened to music, but I didn't really listen to a lot of music, apparently. Um, but I remember it wasn't until 1995, I believe. And I had the radio on in my little room um, that I had in the barracks, I guess is what you would call it. And um, so I had the radio playing, and I really hadn't thought of my likes back in the 80s very much. But I do remember hearing this song, and it was Ordinary World. And I stopped and I listened to it, and that was the first time I listened to it. I don't know when the song came out, but I do know that um, when I did listen to it, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this song. And I just knew. I was thinking it had to be Duran Duran. And I didn't find out till later. We didn't have Google back then, so I couldn't Google it. We didn't have the iPods or the cell phones. But I did remember finding out that it was sung by Duran Duran, and I was so excited because I was like, they're back, they're back. So I was so excited for that. So, and I'm still to this day, this 2023, so it's still one of my favorites. I like a Aerosmith song, and Tom Petty uh, will always be one of my favorites. But one of my favorite songs is Ordinary World. And I was thinking about the words, and as I try to make my way to the ordinary world, I will learn to survive. And that's sort of what I'm striving for when I declutter and when I get ready to move. So no matter what happens, I am going to make my own way and I will survive. So sometimes there's nothing wrong with living in an ordinary world, right? Thank you, Duran Duran.